These people who are really bigoted, I bet we could just change their minds.
Why, why do you think that?
I don't know, because I have...
Why do you hold that hope out, that illusion?
The moments with your father were also extraordinary in the film, as you were seeing him, as if you were seeing him for the first time. At what point in your youth did you reconcile the Black side of yourself and begin to see your dad differently?
Yeah, I think I spent, as you know, a lot of middle school dyeing my hair and really into like suburban skater culture, and high school, rocking a lot of Abercrombie and chasing whiteness in that way. I went real pro-Black when I was graduating high school and, coming into my own in college, and was part of a lot of Black history organizations and majoring in Africana studies. And, so that was a turn. And I think Black people who grew up in white spaces, I think there's a similar trajectory. I think that a thing that some of the reviewers are getting wrong is that they think that this is a narrative about someone who, when he's 32, suddenly learns that he's Black, and suddenly discovers that he's Black.
Right.
And I think what folks are missing is that, knowing I'm Black happened much earlier, but I think what hits home to me about the end is that, there's this harrowing realization that I had as a filmmaker of whether you are chasing whiteness to aspire because you aspire to it, or whether you are chasing it to expose it, the chase feels the same. And the chase exacts the same sort of price on your mental health and on your soul, because either way, you are making whiteness the center of your vision. You are saying, what needs to go up here? I don't know. It's got to be something that talks about the lie of the lost cause, or it's got to be about the sins of Robert E. Lee, or it's got to be about blah, blah, blah. And it's like, that's such a focus. Whiteness blinds you in that way that,
Yes,
the more you talk about the Confederacy and the more you want to talk about these things and the more you want to get into the details of the lie, you are focused on a story about white people's feelings and not about the possibilities of Black freedom. So for me,
It's beautiful, man.
that is what the end of the film is attempting to speak to. I think that is what is important in our language. This is no longer about creating work that somehow convinces white supremacists that maybe racism is real. I think the work ahead of us is protecting Black and brown communities, giving them space and power to decide on their own symbols, remembering that most of the people who live in the South are Black, and that actually moving towards changes that have nothing to do with convincing bigots not to be bigots. So in Virginia, they have rewritten the learning frameworks around their learning standards as a state to recenter slavery as the cause of the Civil War. In 2015, all of their tests and their standards were like, you got to learn about slavery and states' rights as the cause, as if they're the same thing. And now folks in Virginia have been able to rewrite that so that kids are actually learning the real history. You can do all of that without convincing a bigot that he's a bigot. You can give a teacher a copy of Black Reconstruction and show them how to teach that in their school without ever having to deal with these bozos, these white supremacist Republican governors who are passing laws telling us to teach our kids less history. That there are moves that we can make that have nothing to do with trying to reenact the plot of the film Green Book.
New Orleans, and especially in the 20th and 21st century, is a Black city. Why do you think it took so long for the city to find its voice as a collective, to create an outrage that was large enough to be noticed and topple monuments?
I think we have to sit with that idea for a second.
Okay.
The cities that you find the most Confederate monuments in, the highest concentrations, New Orleans, Atlanta, Richmond, Baltimore. What are these cities? These are Black cities, right? There's a stunning dichotomy of the blackest cities in the country have the most monuments and highest places of reverence for slave owners, and for folks, and for, particularly in Baltimore, of segregationists, that black children in those places, black children this August in New Orleans, will go back to schools still named after a man who would have seen them enslaved. So, I think that this wake-up call has been long in coming. Black people have always found these monuments weird. In the 1870s, you can see Frederick Douglass writing, "Oh my God, what the fuck is happening?" You can see him saying there was a right side and a wrong side in the late war. And if we do not press these and punish these Confederates, we will give up the opportunity to make treason odious. In Richmond, when they unveil the Robert E. Lee Monument in 1890 and 91, you see the black press there going, "How is this even happening? The black men put up these monuments, and when it comes time, we will be there to take it down." Black communities have always found these weird. They've always moved against them and said that they are weird. In the 50s and in the 70s in New Orleans, you have black folks marching against these monuments. In the 70s, you have, NAACP, you have Marie Galatis, you have Avery Alexander. You have this long tradition of folks squaring off with the KKK at these monuments about the presence of these monuments, who have always been saying, this shit is weird and it does not belong here and it does not speak for us. So it's not just when we say that we are now aware of this, it is literally, and I'm sorry that this is so dark, we are aware of it because moments like the Charleston massacre, Charlottesville, George Floyd has put white supremacist violence so much in our face that the rest of the country is finally able to see for a moment what black people have been saying since the beginning of the century. So I think it is a question about amplification and a question about what is on white liberals' radar. And we are working just in a tiny closing window of consensus right now. And the question is, what will we use this window of consensus to accomplish? Will we use it to accomplish the removal of the 2,000 remaining monuments? Will we use it to accomplish connecting the dots and actually, stopping police violence in this country? What will we use it for other than this rhetorical, feel-good, now we must reckon? Like, what will we actually accomplish before the window closes and we move on to something else?
This is Patrick McDonald for HollywoodChicago.com. Copyright 2021.